I'm not a very famous person, so I don't know how people would relate ki iska podcast, why should you watch it? But one of the famous things that I did is that I initiated the first eco glamping concept in India. So even if my hostel was something that I'm selling for 500 rupees ka one bed, I would get the best photographer in the country and I would make a photo shoot happen of that property in a way that 5 stars do. इंडिया में बहुत लोग बहुत कुछ करते हैं बट दे नेवर डॉक्यूमेंटेड. तो मैं बहुत कुछ करूँगा भी और मैं डॉक्यूमेंट भी करूँगा.
Thanks for consenting to be my first guest. I
Yes.
was just like planning to get out and have some
Exactly,
good
but like
time with you.
for me it was that likewise I get inspired that you for the last almost like 10 years now that you are in the outdoor space and you are like doing things that nobody is even thinking about and has been doing it, right? And has sort of inspired a generation of people to do these things.
I hope so.
Which is outdoor climbing, let's say like ice climbing or even like how you organize the running race. So मैं तो बहुत inspired था. I was looking forward to it. And so much so that I was preparing to, like I was working out and I was snowboarding every day in
Yeah.
Sithan, which is just above my place in Glampeco.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it is. So, I was telling your brother abhi while coming here कि snowboarding में it's very important to let go of the fear. And when I finally let go of the fear, this is what is the result of
I
letting
think
go.
you shouldn't let it go so much.
Yeah, I know. The fine balance adventure ka na, where
Exactly.
fear is also important.
Yeah.
But it should not hold you back. तो balance में समझ रहा था, which led to this
Yeah,
result.
but thanks so much like making
Yeah.
it here in this condition.
No.
Appreciate it.
Right.
I'll just give you a little context of why I started this podcast. Basically, one of my core interests is marketing, and I was trying to find resources recently, where I can learn from others in the marketing space, especially in India. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a lot. Like even though there are some vlogs and magazines that I can refer to, I couldn't find like a lot of people talking about the space a lot. So I thought, why not let's start something at the intersection of business, startups, and marketing, wherein I can call upon my friends who have some experience in this space and just discuss ideas so that viewers who may be watching this podcast would be able to gain ideas and insight from our little experience in the field.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we delve into like your experience of the space of startups and marketing, why not you introduce us about your bearings, like where you grew up, where you come from, and how did you basically end up here?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not a very famous person, so I don't know how people would relate ki iska podcast, why should you watch it? But one of the famous things that I did is that I initiated the first eco glamping concept in India. I think that is
Now we'd come to that.
Huh.
I want to know what are the bearings of Akshat, like
Right.
where did you grow up?
Right,
What was happening in your childhood
right.
for you to become this person? Like
Right,
if
right.
you can backtrack and trace that journey for us
100%.
first, and then
Right.
we'll come to like what you've
Okay.
been doing of late.
Done. So I think self-diagnosed ADHD है मुझे. ठीक है. Why I feel is that because I have always been a very hyper kid. तो मेरे घर के सामने एक आम का बाग है. So mangoes, whenever there was mango season, I was the boy which every auntie asked to climb every tree. तो मैं मतलब एक मैंगो सीजन में 20-30 किलो मैंगो तोड़ता था. ठीक है. तो मतलब
Did that make good pocket money?
that was not even for free, for fun. I would do it for fun. तो मतलब I would always be on a tree. मतलब ना घर पे like लोग ये करते हैं, खेलते हैं, कुछ करते हैं, फुटबॉल खेलते हैं, मैं पेड़ चढ़ता था. तो because I was from चंडीगढ़, तो मतलब वहाँ पहाड़ नहीं थे. तो I think वहीं से I sort of realized कि I like to climb.
Yeah, I was about to get to that.
Yeah, so that's where my childhood was like that, very
Yeah.
hyperactive and sort of mostly trying to climb stuff.
Yeah.
Right, very as far as I remember. When I think about कि क्यों मुझे mountains पसंद है इतना, because I always had that adventurous spirit. Like nobody asked me to climb a very difficult tree. गिरा भी, fracture भी हुए, but even then I would not like give up on this. Really innate nature of me. तो वो काफ़ी innate था. As soon as I got the chance to get out of my house in college, the first thing I did was manage an adventure club.
Yeah, I read about that. I
हाँ,
was to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So in my university, so
Where did you go to college?
I was in Thapar University.
Okay.
Engineer.
Okay.
Engineers like
And
most in India.
like, how
ठीक
does
है?
adventure happen in engineering college? Like, what was your introduction
Right.
to adventure that
Right.
made you start up the club?
Right. So, see, I was engineer by choice. Nobody forced me to do it. I had a very analytical mind. My sister, my dad are engineers, and घर में engineering की ही बातें होती थी. My dad would build like trucks and buses. So I really enjoyed the whole principle of engineering, the application of it. But the education in college was not as exciting as building something with your hands. I thought I'll build something, but education was more like bookish knowledge and processes and all. While I was in engineering, जैसे most engineers, they find their passion, है ना? तो मेरे को भी I found my passion in mountaineering. So luckily I had some seniors who knew about mountaineering, and they sort of enrolled us into Abhimas, Manali में, institute में, ठीक है? And the first, like they took us for one trek, and I was like, यार ये तो बहुत मज़ेदार है, like ये तो बहुत सही है, like walk for 5 or 6 hours and reach to this view, and I would go alone रात को, जब वो camp करते थे, I would keep walking alone. So I think this is where the spark came in. And when I did the course, mountaineering course, I really felt that I am not doing it for any other reason. I really, really feel in the moment when I'm in the mountains. तो वो जो built up energy थी, like that too much energy inside me, I could really channelize it into the whole mountaineering and pushing myself. थका कर अपने आप को ना, I would feel like very relaxed.
Yeah. So what was the club about? Like, did you?
Yeah, so the club was about that only. Like then we would make batches with other colleges and send kids to basically these courses. So skiing का course हो गया, mountaineering के course हो गया, paragliding का course हो गया. So basically have our own tribe of people, and then we got money from the college for the club. Then we would get our own tents and gear and go for these treks.
So at that point, you were pursuing it like as something that you got interested in, or were you also like thinking कि अरे मैं इसमें कुछ like I'll find a career in this direction?
मतलब at the back of my head, I wasn't sure if I can find a career in it, but I was not confident enough कि how will this earn me money. But then there was, in one of the years in my college, I did start like my own startup. We called it Foolhardy. तो Foolhardy का यही काम था कि we would take kids for these adventure trips and for these courses. But yeah, like first startup की तरह भी realized कि भाई it requires a lot of organizational thing. College में थे, there was a lot of learning from that. तो I wasn't sure very much about it because confidence नहीं था, बहुत young थे, तो I realized that I need a lot of experience.
Okay.
वैसा.
And when were you trying to be a musician? Like you've shared this with me earlier.
Right.
Like I think Paras is like a close friend of yours, and you're trying to put together a band. So what happened there?
So that was in school actually. When I was in 10th class, we had our own band. One of the guitarists in local train, one of the only guitarist in local train, Paras, he's a childhood friend of mine. So I had a band with him. So, but then I think because of my distracted mind of wanting to do everything, doing theatre also, doing international student exchange also, doing adventure also, I never really dedicated enough time to art as much early on, है ना? तो I realized कि because I saw him playing guitar so well, तो वो चीज़ मेरे को बहुत early realize होगी कि to become a musician or something you have to dedicate a lot of time to it, you know. तो उतना मेरा focus नहीं था किसी भी एक चीज़ पे, तो वो तो give up ही हो गया था. But हाँ, I was managing the band then. I was like maybe बनिया हूँ तो manage तो कर ही लेता हूँ.
At least make money out of this.
Yeah, like if not artist, हाँ. So while I was in college, I was like going touring with them. I traveled like a lot of shows across the country with them, and I used to manage them. Yeah.
So music, adventure, and when I got to know about you, you were involved with the film.
Right.
Like you were going with Abhijit and Pranav to film their ice climb.
Right.
So how did that happen, and what was that? Like, were you trying to be a filmmaker then?
Right.
Or what exactly were you doing with them at that point?
Okay, so filmmaking for me came when I did my advanced course, which is where I met Abhijit also. So advanced course में we had the principal of the institute. He mentioned this thing that India में बहुत लोग बहुत कुछ करते हैं, but they never document it, right? Which is why Indians never get to know कि हमारे देश में क्या हो रहा है. The documentation part is missing. That really stuck to me. I was like यार ये तो बहुत बड़ा gap है. तो मैं बहुत कुछ करूँगा भी और मैं डॉक्यूमेंट भी करूँगा. तो वो एक थीम सी बन गई मेरी, राइट? आई वांटेड टू लाइक डॉक्यूमेंट स्टफ व्हाइल आई वाज डूइंग इट एंड डॉक्यूमेंट फॉर अदर पीपल आल्सो, रिटन, रिकॉर्डेड. आई वाजंट श्योर अबाउट इट. स्किल भी था विच आई वाज डेवलपिंग. फर्स्ट टाइम गोप्रो आ गया, लाइफ बदल गई. GoPro क्या चीज़ है, like you know, like I would look at GoPro videos and go like ये करना है. You know, as a child, still very young, 22, 23-year-old, I was like कि GoPro तो बहुत सही चीज़ है कि अगर मेरे पास GoPro आ जाएगा तो मैं तो फोड़ दूंगा ना, सब कुछ एडवेंचर कर लूँगा. Like didn't know कि GoPro से नहीं होता है, एडवेंचर खुद से करना पड़ता है, GoPro कैप्चर करता है. But that thing was in my head कि मेरे को यही करना है. Like I want to do something adventure, capture it, document it. So I would like keep shooting stuff, recording it. तो editing I learned very early on. Like college में ही सीख लिया था मैंने कि अच्छा ऐसे edit होता है. While engineering we would make cam stabilizers. मतलब college में engineering में people were making stuff, we were making camera का stabilizer by ourselves, trying to use it. तो you know there was this inclination of filmmaking very early on in my career.
So you were dabbling with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you started. Then did you work with the fall team? Like,
Right.
What happened there?
So fall actually happened very late. So I graduated in 2014. Fall was 2016. तो fall की तो अलग ही कहानी है, which could be another episode only.
Okay.
So when I met Abhijit, so he told me कि there is thing called ice climbing, and he just showed me photographs कैसा होता है. And then we were very inspired. So then Abhijit and I, we were like कि ऐसा करना है. We tried for 3 or 2 consecutive years, and every year we would try to go somewhere. Something would happen and we would not climb it. So then there was a filmmaker friend of mine, Anchit, who used to make music videos for local train. So when he got to know about this thing कि अरे यार ये दो लोग कर रहे हैं, then he was very invested in it कि अरे I will make a film about it. And I'm like बहुत बढ़िया. He had the resources also, he had the network also.
Yeah.
So when Anchit came on board, by the time I was already working in a corporate setup, Zostel में. So
okay, you were working with Zostel.
I was working in Zostel already. 2014 I joined. Just after college I joined. Right. तो then ठीक है, तो हमने कहा हम फिल्म बनाएंगे. तो we were like preparing for that, generating funds for it. We made a Indiegogo video also. Then got funds for it, and we went and made a film about it.
Okay, so one thing that you've got a grip on is like the business of creative.
Right. Yeah.
Apart from the creative.
Right.
You said you were working with Zostel
right.
when you got the chance to get onboarded with the fall.
Right.
I'm quite interested in that part. Like what were you doing at Zostel? How did that happen?
Right.
I know, like from my college time, I think Zostel was just starting then,
right.
And it was something that sort of blew up in the scene,
right.
And I was watching quite closely, and then
right.
later on I got to know that
right.
you were behind the scenes marketing
right.
for Zostel back then.
Right.
So what exactly were you doing there? And if you can just zoom in on like the initial marketing initiatives that helped the organization to take off really well.
100%. That'll be really nice. And I think matlab Zostel ki marketing can be a case study in itself.
Yeah.
There are companies, usually a company ki marketing is considered very boring unless you're Zomato, right? Which is like, you know, that guy is doing an amazing job. So Zomato is a very good example of how a company's marketing can be very interesting, right? So I think Zostel is, you know, something that we felt that if we have to be different in the space we were, Zostel तो प्रोडक्ट ही बहुत नहीं आता. Zostel was started in 2012. मतलब the idea came in 2012. 2013 it was the best business model in the entire country. They won 14 business plan competitions across the country.
Were you following Zostel at that time?
Yes. So when they had the best internship, I knew about that also. The same thing. They had the best internship, and I knew about it. Ki they're doing something like that.
They had an internship plan wherein they recruited, I think, college goers, and they put them on a trip around the country where people had to go and map locations, and I think eventually they opened up hostels in those locations.
So the idea was that they will take 5 different categories of people: an artist, a musician, a filmmaker, take them to 50 cities, give them 50,000 rupees, and like basically explore the country and make content out of it. ठीक है? Because it was started by 7 IIM graduates, IIT IIM graduates, so the company was very well sort of planned out, very exhaustively planned out कि हमें क्या करना है. So one guy was just doing marketing, one guy was just doing sales, one guy was just doing there was a lot of structure in it, which is what inspired me to join it, because I had an aspiration to do something in the adventure traveling space. Filmmaking at the back end of it, confidence नहीं था, but yeah, I felt कि joining Zostel would be a big learning for me. Right. So and it turned out to be. So I was like कि थोड़ा बहुत काम करेंगे, सीखेंगे, फिर अपना खोल लेंगे. Right?
So you joined as an intern?
I joined as a full-time employee. I was not an intern. So they had this hiring spree where they were hiring people But like for
So the initial thought was to
Yeah.
learn and
हाँ.
then open something of your
हाँ,
own,
हाँ,
and you
कि-
ended up staying for some 12-13 years.
Yeah, 10 years, मतलब
Okay,
almost
10
9 to
years.
10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So they, because the culture was so good, and I think the freedom was so good in Zostel that मतलब भाईचारा हो गया था. Like, you know, everything felt like very homely, and I invested myself too much into it. So yeah, so that is what the whole idea of Zostel. So initially when I joined as a product manager.
Okay.
Because हर engineer पहले product manager बन के ही जानता है. Because we were defining what the product is, right? Like what our hostel is. So at that time the whole hostel culture was very new to the country. People, there weren't any hostels except Zostel. There were hardly one or two.
Yeah.
in
What
Goa.
I'd like you to
Yeah.
focus upon is, I think the pattern is repeating in your life. Like Zostel was creating a category,
Right.
and then with Glampeco you have created a category.
Exactly.
So I'd like you to tell me what was happening in terms of category creation. Like what
That's
was the
very good.
challenges that Zostel was facing? What opportunities did you see, and how did you capitalize on those opportunities to overcome those challenges at that time?
Right.
And maybe we can then draw parallels with Glampeco later on in the conversation.
I think that's a very good way
Yeah.
for somebody to actually learn from this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think that is what I saw happening in front of my eyes. मतलब नहीं था hostel culture इंडिया में.
Yeah.
Before Zostel, Zostel had a huge part in establishing that thing कि hostels can be clean and safe. So when we started out 2013 when Zostel started out, they मतलब only people who would stay in hostels were foreigners. So Zostel had a clientele of 80% foreigners staying in the hostels.
Okay.
ठीक है, 80% foreigners and rest 20% Indians. And Indians भी who were very well traveled. So that culture hadn't come in, right?
So how did like the founders, how did they define their TG at that time? Like
Right.
who did they think
Right.
would come and stay in their hostels? Because I think eventually you'd want like the local population, like Indians would come and stay
Right, right.
in your business.
Right.
So how did they visualize, like who would they first convert to, come and stay in Zostel? Like how did they
Yeah,
go
the
about
idea
that?
was that only कि they didn't want to promote cheap tourism. Like they didn't want to promote कि we have a 500 ka bed, come and stay. From the beginning, the whole emphasis of Zostel was experience, which is what I think made Zostel stand out of any other brand, or in terms of our marketing, in terms of product placement, and that is what stuck to me very well. ठीक है कि experience क्या है as a person who is coming and staying in Zostel is more important than what price you're selling at, or like what category that you're looking at, right?
Yeah, essentially, I think even at that time specifically, since I was like just out of college, I realized that what was available was cheap stay,
Right.
and not like maybe a pocket friendly stay which is standardized, which has some basic amenities and an experience going. So that wasn't present there.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe that was a need that they were trying to fill probably.
हाँ, वही है, which is what hostels do. मतलब
Yeah.
the idea was that backpacker hostel as a concept is already there across the world. India में there is no concept of a community of travelers at a local level. ठीक है, तो I'll break it down simply for people who are like मतलब maybe I'm not going overhead of some people. तो experience क्या है कि as a traveler, what you are not staying in a hostel for the bed, right? You hardly go to the bed to sleep. ठीक है? As soon as you enter the hostel, there is a guy there who welcomes you like a host and tells you everything about the place. And the environment is such that you get to make friends, right?
Yeah.
And there is a place dedicated for it called the common area, and there will be dedicated activities. There will be
There'll be a notice board with like
timing, trips, activities which will make you meet other people. There is no way that you will not meet any other person and learn from them, right? तो वही फोकस था फ्रॉम डे वन कि बैकपैकर हॉस्टल कॉन्सेप्ट इज अराउंड एन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ इट. वी आर नॉट सेलिंग चीप अकोमोडेशन. तो हाउ डू वी देन मार्केट इट? तो वी वुड then talk about that. Like we would not talk about our hostel कि we are opening up a hostel in Agra or we are opening up a hostel in Manali. I remember like we launched the Manali property in 2015. We would be like the first brand who would like sort of follow a person's journey and go around कि मनाली में क्या करने के लिए है, हम कैसे कराते हैं, what are the unique things about it, which is now very common social media पे.
So initially you were doing product and then you were
I got into marketing, right? So first we defined what the product is. मतलब I didn't define, like the founders sort of defined. मेरे को खुद नहीं पता था hostel क्या होता है until I stayed at a hostel, at hostel पे. when I experienced it for myself, that I would wake up every day with 100 people from different countries, I was flabbergasted myself कि यार ये क्या हो रहा है, मतलब ये क्या जगह है, and that emotion stuck so well inside me. And then a challenge that I would face in my college about women traveling. So whenever we would have like girls joining trips in college adventure club से, there would always be a thing कि उनके parents से बात करो, और like safety कैसा है, कहाँ रह रहे हैं, and all that. So I think that I really honestly feel that Zostel had a benchmark of women's safety
Solving that.
ठीक है. They literally made it happen where women would feel very confident in traveling, staying solo in their hostels, in their property, because of the quality and because of the assurance of the company, right? So that was a very gradual stage. तो product define कर लिया कि ये हमारा experience है, ये हमारी quality है, and then then the whole marketing aspect of it comes is that
how did it translate into your communication? Like,
right.
Now the project is in place, it's solving a specific problem.
Right.
What were the marketing initiatives talking about? Like, what were those marketing initiatives?
So very early on, we decided that our hostels don't have to be like each other. So every hostel is different from the other's hostel. So every hostel talks about the place it is in. A Manali's hostel would look like Manali. Like a Delhi's hostel would talk about Delhi. है ना? तो it's not like we are placing the same product every. McDonald's नहीं है. है ना कि वो हर एक hostel
It's not mass produced.
It's not mass produced. Traveling is a very individual experience. So the hostel should be a very specific to the place itself.
Yeah.
So was the marketing. तो मतलब हमारा marketing was also not something that कि template बना दिया कि ऐसे ही हमें ऐसे ही launch करना है, ऐसे ही इसको start करना है. So we would have this thing called hashtag next hostel. So we'll have contest for every hostel that we would launch, and we would like very much play around this idea कि मतलब how cool we can make the contest. ठीक है. So we tried everything possible on Instagram.
For example,
like there was this thing that we did when we were launching a couple of hostels together. We would have a campaign like hashtag next hostel. ठीक है. मतलब the whole idea was कि we didn't want to look corporate. मतलब ना that was the spirit of Zostel, which is why I stayed it for so long, and that is what I would want every startup to sort of learn from, every individual who is trying to learn something from marketing of Zostel, to see कि यार even till today, like the spirit is that we do not try to be corporate.
It's a friendly brand.
It's a connects on a very personal basis. है ना? बात ही ऐसे करेंगे कि बंदे को लगे ना कि ये कोई अंकल बैठा हुआ है.
Corporate speak नहीं है.
हाँ कि मतलब मेरे ही लेवल का बंदा है, बात कर रहा है बड़ी cool तरीके से. That is how the website was. That is how the hostels के अंदर posters were. Even the posters would be like very informal, very like.
So the core idea is to be relatable, be like, to speak like how your consumer would speak.
Exactly, you know, and what would click with them, है ना? Given information in a way that it sticks to them. So next hostel भी वैसे ही था. So one of the campaigns that we did in next hostel was that we did a contest, and basically Instagram में tiles होती है ना, right? So we would design a tile in a way that it eventually becomes बाहर से like a map of the country, and we started like launching. पहले चेन्नई launch किया, फिर ले launch किया. And as we are launching, the tiles give you clues. So it was like an engagement. We got almost 1 million reach on that campaign, and basically every tile would be a contest in itself. So as we started launching every hostel, we would keep tiling on Instagram. These are Instagram tiles, and eventually it would form the map of the country.
Okay.
So it was like very interactive. Instagram पे लोग game जैसा खेल रहे थे, and they were earning points on it. They were earning nights on it, and getting to know that which hostels we are coming in. So when we launched Chennai, so we would talk about Chennai में क्या क्या करने के लिए है. Then we would have a contest about it, and by the end of it, like let's say 6 tiles we would make to launch Chennai. All of them will make a map of Chennai बाहर से. ठीक है. So then you get to see कि अच्छा चेन्नई में ये करने के लिए है, right? So we just didn't talk about कि चेन्नई में मेरी property ऐसी है. We would talk about Chennai.
You would talk about Chennai. You'll promote the place,
right?
And then you'd project that I know this place better than other people who are present in the space there.
And I will talk about कि if you come to me and stay in Chennai, I will make you. I will show you Chennai.
Yeah, I'm the man.
To go to. Like so, you can trust me if you are coming to Chennai. I will make sure that you get to experience authentic Chennai through my marketing, like which is what I projected.
Yeah.
Same thing. Then we launched Leh. Then we launched Kathmandu, Nepal and all. So we did that for almost a month. And then you would see the map of every place. The idea was that even if they are not coming to us, someday when they go to those places, they would know ki what is there in those areas.
Yeah.
Right? So that approach.
Yeah, the idea is not to sell, it's to become like an authority.
Exactly.
Sorts.
I
Yeah.
think you put it really well. Like, talk about what is there to do, right? What would you do in Chennai? Because that is something that you would want to know. Nobody wants to know how my property looks like.
Yeah.
Like they might, but then, and that's another thing that really worked for Zostel, which is a trade secret that I'm giving away.
This could be my title, like the clickbaity title for this video.
So what works? Packaging. मतलब अब तो सभी करते हैं, but we really emphasized a lot on how we packaged our product for the customer.
Can you just break it down, because I think this is like little jargony in terms of packaging the products, and can you just break it down for a
Exactly. So like if you have, let's say, a chocolate Bondville and there's another brand Cadbury, दोनों Cadbury है. Why is Bondville महंगा? Compared to the taste difference might not be that much, but like packaging देख के you already see it's a very महंगा product, right? How they design it, that's what packaging is, right? So even if my hostel was something that I'm selling for 500 rupees ka one bed, I would get the best photographer in the country, and I would make a photo shoot happen of that property in a way that 5 stars do, right? And at the right light, at the right time. We went very far with it. We would call talents basically, or like travelers, actual travelers जो वहाँ रह रहे हैं, and we would like stage the shoot. मतलब वहाँ पर जो पेन भी रखा है, जो book भी रखी है. So it is very curated.
What is hygiene now for like most hospitality businesses?
Right.
Is something that you guys sort of pioneered.
Right.
Essentially.
I would say that like it was very basic, but we definitely took it very seriously. Right, and matlab seriously to the extent that we would make sure that the properties are designed in a way that they're photogenic. Right.
I recently stayed at your Jodhpur property, like Zostel Jodhpur.
Right.
And it's like it stands out in that crowded lane. वो एक नीला property.
Right.
Yeah, मतलब nobody can imagine a hostel would be like done up like that.
Exactly. So मतलब every element of it, art अंदर जो है, wall art है, everything is designed so that when the product is finally presented on an online platform and there are like 10 options to choose from, or let's say when we do a next hostel and when we finally put out कि ये हमारा hostel है, and that one cover image would get like 10,000, 20,000 likes.
Yeah. So basically 10 years ago you were social media first, essentially.
Right. We would design it like that. We would like ये नहीं है कि हमने hostel खोल दिया है तो it will work really well. We would make sure that it's packaged in a way that it's very eye-catchy to click on and see what is it about, and then finally leads to a booking, which is what led to Zostel's unmatchable occupancy numbers. Like we would get like 75-80% occupancy across the brand.
Okay, that evenly, like everything is basically occupied.
80% occupancy, like for a normal hotel, if you're doing 40% occupancy, that is a win. So we were doing double of that. Okay. Which is why like the brand like spread so much. There were so many other aspects to it also, because we would only choose the property which would be a successful property. We would not open for the sake of opening.
That's my next point with respect to your career progression with Zostel. Eventually you came down to like property selection and studying like where exactly you deploy resources to set up a property. And like if I go to a new destination, probably I'll look up like first तो सबसे common sites क्या है. If I'm coming to Manali, as you said, like I'll look up Old Manali first and maybe like Solang second. And probably like if I'm coming for the first time, I'd like to stay in known places.
Right.
Yeah.
Centrally located. You will see what are the monuments you have to visit. Right.
Yeah.
So location was one criteria. Then it was like how the property is, like the build wise, do you have a common area? That is the most important thing. Okay, like the property should have a space for travelers to come, meet, chill, play games, know about the place. Common area should be there. Then the view of the place. It should not be something that you're coming to Manali, आपको सामने hotels ही दिख रहे हैं. Right. It might be more profitable to have a property at Mall Road, but like if you understand your crowd, they would come and stay somewhere which has a better view, even if it is not right in the center. So maybe location is not the first criteria. It's how the property feels, how the view is of the property, what is around the property as per your choice. So then, which is why like even though Zostel is now 10 years old, right, they are now becoming like 100 properties. Yeah. Right, including homes.
If I'm trying to articulate this, so since you said that what is key is not the business of lodging people, it is the business of experience.
Right.
So your metrics would be based on building that experience. So let's say where is this property located? Does it have a view?
Right.
Does it have a common area?
Right.
All of these things would add up to how you summed up ki feel aa rahi hai ki nahi aa rahi hai na? All of these things will
Right.
basically cater to that.
Right.
So basically what you're saying is the way Zostel looks at the business of hospitality is
Right.
not
Purely business.
purely business,
Yeah.
or the business of lodging people, but
Right.
they are treating it as the business of creating an experience.
Exactly, and I think that is what works with any business. Matlab, if somebody has to take one thing away from this podcast is that if you are not satisfied with your product, you can never sell it. ठीक है? So that which is what was there for Zostel. Like the CEO would never tell us find me a profitable property. Never. The idea was that he would only ask me one thing: the property that you found, would you stay there?
Yeah.
Right? Would you be happy with it? Do you think it is the best property in that area? Only then finalize that property. No
Okay.
matter how much money it might make for the company or might not make for the company, right? It's a very personal thing, right? I think, and a business only works if you are happy with your product by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so that feeling still sticks to me. If you're making something, are you genuinely happy with it? And is this something that you would want, or are you only doing it just for the sake of doing it as a business?
So even though you're not creating standardized properties,
Right.
you're creating a standardized experience.
Yeah.
Essentially.
You
So
know?
something is being standardized, and that is how you're going to create a brand.
The feel of it.
Yeah.
Right. And then eventually when we started franchising it, then it was like finding the right person. ठीक है, you have the right property.
How would you do that?
बात करके. You know, when we talk to the
But
person.
वो कुछ एक tick boxes होंगे ना, इसके
Yeah.
check boxes होंगे कि this person should meet these many.
We had a form on the website. So form में we would have a question: why do you want to open a hostel? And people would open their hearts out.
हाँ.
कि मतलब I want to meet.
What's a good answer and what's a bad answer?
I want to meet other travelers. I want to engage with it. This is the life that I want. है ना? Versus like let's say कि I see good business opportunity.
So
in it.
intrinsically, people were not just motivated by profit,
हाँ जी.
like the founders. Probably.
Right. See, obviously, it's a business. Profit is part of it. They
Yeah.
would talk about it, right? But what is the actual motivation about it? Is it to host people and make money on the side, or just put some money into a business and not think about what the business is, right? Like people would come to us with like a पेटी full of money and go like, मेरे को पैसा कमाना है, right? But we would go like, how would you give an experience? They're like, I don't care, right? But then we would like try to find that out with them. Are they actually like the ones who really want people to come and host them as a host? You know, so that.
So it's a very value-driven brand and business essentially.
Right, which is what worked on the long run. When people would go to a hostel property, you would meet a person and who is very well aware of the place and who wants you to see his place like how you would show your house to somebody.
Yeah.
Your city. Like you are from Dehradun. So if I ask you Dehradun mein what is the best place to stay, you will say Kalzang, right? So that's why I want to stay at your place, because you will tell me the best places in Dehradun to explore. So hostel is like that. It's like a home for travelers.
Yeah. It's like some form of couch surfing but paid.
Yeah. मतलब वही idea is that
at scale.
There is a host there is a warmth to it, there is a activity to it, exploration to it, what couchsurfing has going around.
What was your last role at Zostel, and then what made you transition from that to what you're doing now?
So I always tell na कि Zostel mein I would be part of opening so many businesses like franchisees. I would always motivate people. So my job was to talk to people and explain them the business model, then finalize the location, work the numbers out, see if the model is profitable or not. So I would do it so much कि I convinced myself only कि यार everybody is going out opening their properties.
So why not I open a Zostel?
I should also do it. I should have my own property also. Because at Zostel we were telling them that कि have your own property. Imagine yourself. This was our whole copy of it. Imagine yourself sipping tea at a beautiful location. And meeting new people, traveling, वो इतना हम उसको promote करते थे. Like the franchise was promoted like that. कि it was called Entrepreneurship Development Program. It's still called that because we are not trying to make businesses. We are trying to find entrepreneurs who really love what they're doing, right? So इतना ज़्यादा I would propagate on daily basis that I started asking myself कि यार ये तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ ना. Like why do I have to do a job?
आप मुझे बता रहे थे before we went on the break to make chai,
right,
that you finally now thought of, since you were you were telling other people,
Huh.
or like people
yeah.
were coming to Zostel that we
Right.
want to open a Zostel in our place
Yeah,
and just give us
yeah.
a franchise or whatever.
Right.
You came back to your original idea. Why you went like took up a job at Zostel is because you wanted to start something of your own,
Right.
and now you got convinced that everyone's opening a Zostel. Maybe it's time for you to open a property of your own.
Yeah, like
Okay.
it wasn't as straightforward as that. I think मतलब होता है ना कि लाइफ में as you grow older, your mindset you grow in your head.
What age were you at?
So when I was 27, 27 actually.
Okay.
And at that time I started feeling कि अब जो सीखना था दिल्ली में रहकर, I think मेरा दिल्ली से बस हो गया था. I was not done with the job. I really enjoyed the working of it.
हाँ.
But I started feeling that I don't belong to Delhi. Like
You grew up in Chandigarh?
I grew up in Chandigarh.
Okay.
Then I joined the job in Delhi, hostel के साथ, and I
हाँ.
was working there for 5 years. And then after 5 years, I just like felt कि अब मेरा हो गया. Like Delhi में मेरे को जितना Delhi से लेना था, like life लेनी थी, because I was like a small town boy. चंडीगढ़ से ना तो Delhi में पूरे मजे कर लिए. And अब मेरा हो गया. I don't belong here. I actually wanted to stay in the mountains. ये मेरे दिमाग में सेट था कि आई विल ऑलवेज लिव इन द माउंटेन्स. बट
ये कब से था? जब like when you got introduced to
करे
mountaineering?
थे. When I did my courses, I was like, this is the life I want. I want to do something in adventure. I want to do something in the mountains. Like literally mountains spoke to me. है ना? Like I found my peace in the mountain, and I think that's what a lot of people they want in their lives.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I've met at Glampeco, they want in their lives, they want to shift to mountains, they want to stay in the mountains, they want to do something in the mountains, at least have a house in the mountains. But they don't know how, when, Hana, and like what will be the cost of it, right? Because their life is sort of stuck into the city, their jobs are stuck into the city.
Yeah. But fortunately, you were in a business
Yeah.
which took you
Which gave me that
to some of-
confidence.
yeah.
Which gave me that confidence.
Yeah. But my specific question to you is
Right.
that अभी आपने बताया कि when let's say you're opening up a new property, you'd
Right.
go for like the most popular spots in a destination,
Right.
and you try to curate that city's, you know, जो भी city का एक commonly perceived experience है,
Right.
that you try to create around the property.
Right.
ठीक है. So tell me about like your business idea, obviously.
Right.
But at the same time, also tell me that the property that you started eventually, it is located in Sethin,
Right.
which is 13 kilometers from Manali.
Right.
It is at a higher elevation.
Right.
Before you started Glampeco,
Right.
Essentially like how I know this mountain is like it is a remote place
Right.
to even folks in Manali.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
There were no businesses there were no modern businesses
Right.
operational in Sethin
Right.
until you arrived on the scene. So from this idea of or this experience of opening up properties in places that are like at the center of the that destination to opening something which is one in
Right.
such a remote spot.
Right.
Second, opening something which is sort of category creation.
Right.
How did you arrive on this idea?
Right.
What gave you the confidence of getting into such a remote spot?
Right.
What was the business thought behind it?
Right.
How did you like rationalize
Right.
or create some logic to starting up in Sethin?
Got it.
Is what I want to know specifically in the first part to this answer.
Okay.
And then how did you go about making this place successful? Like how did you know it'd work?
All right. थोड़ा सा cheesy सा story है. So I met my wife at one of the hostel properties.
You met her
in Agra.
In Agra at Taj Mahal.
At Taj Mahal.
Okay, tell us about that first.
Under the full moon night. ठीक है. That's how like so it was hostel में I was doing a marketing event where you get to see Taj Mahal at night under the full moon night. ठीक है. So my wife Shilpi, she also wanted to start a hostel. ठीक है. उसको भी पहाड़ों में रहना था and she wanted to have this dream of staying in the mountains and living a life remotely hosting people.
So she wanted to be a franchise.
She wanted to have a hostel franchise.
So she came to you to like apply for one.
She applied. I still have that form where she was like, I want to open a hostel. उसने पूरा अपना दिल खोल के लिखा हुआ है कि I can host people and all that. I hope she doesn't get to see this podcast. but yeah, so that's how we met. And we connected on that fact that both of us loved mountains and both of us were done with our jobs in Delhi. She was doing marketing for DLF, like a very high earning job, and she was like, this is not giving me the kind of peace I want in my head. and I wanted to live a life of adventure and filmmaking, with my passion. And but I didn't know how to earn money out of it. Okay? The only way I knew I could stay in the mountains and earn money was hospitality, which I had spent doing 7 years, 6 years doing. Okay? So then one day when I was looking for ideas for Zostel, I came across this idea of dome. There is one very famous
Ideas for like
Zostel,
new
Zostel properties.
Okay.
I was just like on internet, and then I saw there is a dome structure somewhere in Switzerland, and there is a very famous photographer, Chris Bocard. He was there, and he had clicked a photograph of that dome. And when I saw it, it was like love at first sight. So क्योंकि he's an adventure filmmaker, and he clicks photographs. He clicked a photograph of dome with a very beautiful view, and मेरे दिमाग में ना वो फोटो चिपक गई कि ये मेरे को भी खींचनी है फोटो, बट मैं स्विट्जरलैंड तो जा नहीं सकता. Why don't I put my own dome somewhere? And like that, just like that thought kept revolving around my head.
Of creating an image?
Of creating this image. Of कि बहुत सुंदर जगह पे ये बहुत सुंदर स्ट्रक्चर, बहुत कूल लगेगा, और मैं वो कूल आदमी हूँगा जो ये काम करेगा. मतलब बट obviously like I realized कि if I do this, then I will only do that. And then my Shilpi, I showed this idea. She was very convinced about it. And then I had two other colleagues from Zostel, Kush and Swagata, who were, one was Swagata as the designer at Zostel, and Kush was doing sales.
Yeah.
I showed them this idea, and they were also convinced कि यार ये तो बहुत सही idea है. But this was in 2016 that the idea had come कि dome लगाते कहीं पे, ठीक है? तो एक साल तो रिसर्च ही किया, मतलब कि क्या होता है, ये कहाँ लगता है, कैसा होता है, what is the dome all about, while I was at Zostel working.
And until then, like nobody in India had planted a geodesic.
Nobody knew about this.
It's
thing.
called a geodesic
dome. Nobody know what a dome is. We also didn't know. We had no idea क्यों लगाना है ये.
You just saw an image from Chris Bucket.
हाँ, I saw a very fascinating image कि ये सुंदर जगह पे बहुत सुंदर लगेगा, इसमें बहुत मजा आएगा रहने में, मेरे को रहना है, ठीक है, तो कहीं भी लग जाएगा, मेरे को तो बहुत मजा आएगा, ठीक है. Then क्योंकि खुद को रहना था, तो we were like कि अब कहाँ लगाएं. तो obviously like all my friends were in Manali, ठीक है, you were in Manali, Foreplay was in Manali, Abhijit was in Manali. So I was like यार life, I wanted to stay in Manali only because I wanted to be with you guys.
You already saw like some part of the community that you're connected with is already,
which is what I want to do. Like I was like, if I want to do something like this, Manali is the place for it. So and obviously like it's not about the business of it was like a personal choice कि मैं कहाँ रहकर अपनी life fulfill कर सकता हूँ, ठीक है. Dome might earn me money, might not earn me money, but like my life will be very happy if I am in this region. Okay. So 1 year we just went around Manali. Like we would make like almost by the end of it 20 trips just to Recce land. Delhi se take a night bus, Friday go, 2 days, just see options, go back. This was our entire 2017. Just see options, and see all options in ऊपर नीचे, value them, cost of it, transportation and all. Kush used to do snowboarding, so he would come to Sethan a lot for snowboarding, है ना. He would teach snowboarding, in fact. So he knew about Sethan really well. So then him and then one of our local partners, they started like finalizing the entire mountain. Okay, this area is like, so see, from Zostel we understood that if you build something with heart, no matter where it is, you will get enough people to make the business sustainable.
Okay.
मतलब Zostel में we had open properties like in Ooty, the property was in Lovedale, which is very far away from central Ooty.
Okay.
But it was so beautiful, the view, and the property was so beautiful that people didn't care that it is not in Ooty.
People would come for the property and not the place.
Yes, 15 kilometers from Ooty they would come, Lovedale में. So that thing was really like, we were not looking at how much money we would make out of this. We were like, how much money we need to sustain this business and live here. We were not looking at like the profit end of it कि इसमें से हम करोड़पति बन जाएंगे, वो कभी था ही नहीं सपना, ठीक है. We were like कि how much do we need to like sustain ourselves कि whatever we have put doesn't go to shit.
Yeah.
Right. So with that thought we saw, and also the structure itself, with that image in our head कि यार ये सुंदर जगह पे ही होना चाहिए. The structure is only cool if it is at a cool place. If you put this structure in the middle of the city, it's very illogical to have a tent right next to a building.
Yeah.
Right. A tent should be only at a place where only a tent is possible.
Yeah.
And logically, like you would put a tent in a forest. You would not put a tent in your garden. Right? Like what is the point of that tent? घर में जाके रह लो ना, होटल में जाके रह लो. So no matter how beautiful the structure is, if it is not justified to put that structure there, or the structure itself is not doing justice to the view, or the view is not doing justice to structure, there is no point of it. So we always felt it has to be somewhere very remote, offbeat. And Sethan was the ideal place for it because there was everything that you could do, right, in Sethan that we wanted to do. Rock climbing, snowboarding, trekking, hiking, cycling, मतलब off-roading, जो करना है, everything is in Sethan, right? When we were like, this is a no-brainer. Like this place has to be it. So even when we knew that we have to do it in Sethan, it took us 1 year to finalize the land, and it took us 1.5, like half year more to get the legalities of it done. But it would have been a very difficult thing to do unless we would have bought a dome. Matlab, the thing is that what I'm trying to say here is that whenever you start a business, like a lot of people ask me, like, how did you get the confidence of doing it here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't have the confidence, ठीक है?
Because it's a difficult road to go up.
हाँ.
है ना? It's not a simple place to live in. Like if it snows, then like you're basically stuck in that place. At least back then.
Right.
When you
No,
opened up.
even now also it's very hard to get there.
So
and stay
imagining like I'll make something which is sort of a luxury property.
Right.
How would you match consumer expectation?
Right.
And then make it viable?
We weren't thinking that far. We weren't thinking कि customer कब आएगा. Our idea. So I'll tell you what happened. That I was so fascinated. We were like so fascinated कि dome लगाना है. We wanted to put this dome that we just bought a structure. We didn't have any land. We didn't know where we would put. We didn't have any option also. Just so that when you buy a ticket, we don't know what will you do. What will you do at that place?
Yeah.
है ना, थाईलैंड का टिकट खरीद लिया है, बट पता नहीं क्या करेंगे, बस खरीद लिया है. रात को जोश आया, बस खरीद लिया.
कि कभी तो करेंगे
ना कुछ. जब अब खरीद लिया है, now I will make it happen. It was like that. We bought a dome. We didn't know what to do it, but we bought it with that thought, unless we buy it, this would not become possible, because
so you committed to it.
We committed to it. है ना, we just went like he bootstrapped the model. Let's buy one dome and we'll put it somewhere, right? So when we
how much did that cost?
It costed us what, like 2.5, almost 3 lakh rupees.
Okay.
That structure itself, right? So we were like, unless we buy it, we would not be sure, we would not commit to it, because there is legal problem to it, there is the whole location problem to it, there are too many options that we have. So we would not commit ourselves. So we had that dome for almost over 6 months before we actually like
finalized upon a location,
finalized the land and did the paperwork and legalities of it, because that again was a big hurdle to work here in a place, you know, which is not your domicile.
Yeah,
you know,
and
so like
tribal area
and all that. ठीक है, तो वो पूरा legally उसको process को through करना and having a brand set up here. So that is how it happened. Like we wanted to stay here, we committed to it, and we left no options for us to turn back, because life in Delhi was very comfortable. है ना, life shifting here, staying here, starting a business where there is no light, there is no water, like you know, there is no road. I would not wish on my enemies to do it.
Tell me about the first year, na? Like I think you were setting it up in 2018 and it snowed in and like you were cut off.
Right.
है ना? How was that experience? Like what were you thinking then? Was it like fruitful to build something without distractions, or did you think कि ये क्या, like what have you undertaken and it's impossible or whatever?
So see, that's what I was saying, that it was like, because we never saw it as a business, we saw it as something that gave value to our lives and experience to us. Right? We never saw it कि इसमें से मैं इसको ऐसा बनाऊंगा, I'll make it like this, and you know, people will come and pay me this much money, and then I will become so. It never came to us only. It was like कि, oh, I am here. What the next challenge is, how do I get water? In my house, right? So how do I get water is like pull a pipe from the top of the mountain and things like that. So when winters came, that is like we decided 2018 we got the land, October, November, and there was a old house there, 100-year-old house. So उस house को we refurbished because we needed a central quarter for us and for staff to stay. So and a kitchen and all. So when we refurbished it, that is the only time we had, and winters came in. 2018 was like one of the best winters, like 16 feet of snowfall, high up to the roof. And उसके बाद वैसी winters हुआ नहीं है. So that was our first experience of winters there. And we wanted to experience this because we thought next year onwards, we will have people coming in and staying with us in winters. So we should know how winters is here, right? So in the first winters, we broke our solar panels, we broke our solar water systems, we broke one of the bases that we had built for the dome.
So almost all your capex has basically gone to waste.
Almost 3 lakh rupees ka loss in one first winter. Okay. Like 3 to 4 lakh rupees
we
lost.
That's substantial, yeah.
Like for a bootstrap business, it's 10% of our entire capex.
Yeah.
ठीक है? We lost by just understanding what is this place like. So after that winter, we never got scared. because that winter was so scary.
Yeah.
The road went, there was a landslide on the road. We lost so much infrastructure. We lost all the equipment that we had put for our eco-friendliness. So we understood that this place is very extreme. So then we designed everything according to that. Luckily, since then, the winters have not been that extreme. But in our head, we know what is extreme, right? So, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like that is वो सबसे सही था कि like अगर फटी हुई है इतना snow भी है and you're walking through the snow and like you have 3 puppies and you're raising them and you have no water, pani is coming by dip, you don't have water to shit also. And like, but life is so good.
Yeah.
You're like,
This is one thing like that resonates with me because
Yeah.
like I also realize like if you've dealt with these basic problems in life,
Right.
it sort of humbles you, grounds you,
Right.
and then you sort of become strong
Right.
in dealing with the other shit in life.
Right.
Things that usually we consider as more complex.
Right.
I think it isn't like nothing gets more dreary than just organizing these basics if it comes to that.
Yeah, because we're city people.
Yeah.
मतलब I'll talk about myself. I'm like pure city boy.
Yeah.
तो मेरे को नहीं लाइट नहीं जाती चंडीगढ़ में यार, ठीक है. So every time there would be a snowstorm या हल्की सी हवा in Manali, the light would go, and then it'll be 3 days without light.
How does that impact business? Like how do you deal with such failures
Right.
impacting business? अब लाइट चली गई,
Right.
अब कस्टमर से कैसे बात करूंगा मैं? Like how do you coordinate bookings?
It was a problem in the first year when we understood that light is a challenge here. Second year we have a solar, so we have a solar backup then. So
you kept on like making iteratively pushing in.
It was a
putting
learning
resources.
process.
Yeah.
So it was not like कि मेरे को resort खोलना है, so I need 2.5 CR, I need a generator. It was not like that.
MVP से शुरू करो.
हाँ. Yeah, simple as you can, that you can keep people happy. And when people like curse you कि why is there no water because the water is frozen, go like I'm doing the best I can. Like literally, like when they see you कि भाई this guy is running everywhere and he can't really help.
People recognize effort. Customers recognize effort.
They understand where you are. They understand it is a new product.
Yeah.
That's what people would tell us. कि we understand this is your first, second year. ये challenges हैं. I'm sure you will solve it.
Yeah.
And today only I had a customer who had come to us when we had opened up in 2019, and he was like, my God, like how things have changed. He would like really see that entire change.
So even with that experience, you're getting a repeat rate.
Yeah, we have
because
a very good repeat
this is built from the heart.
Yeah, exactly, and we host from that heart. They see that they treat this place like their house and not like a business. This is like the whole ambience of Glampeco is that this is a home, and you are coming to our home.
Yeah.
This is not a resort. If we make a mistake, we say sorry. है ना? We like genuinely mean it. We not and we understand the value that you have put on us because you're coming to spend your most special time with us. है ना? तो with that thought we host people at Glampeco. तो वो value they understand from the day one. So that is the whole idea of it. कि why we're doing it, Chetan. It is a very personal choice. We like that place.
वहाँ पे feel आ रही है.
Snowboarding करते थे, trekking के लिए जाते थे.
Ultimately it comes to that value कि you'd open a place where you'd like to stay.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Where you would like to wake up. So when I would wake up in Sethan, like when we were building up the place, I would meditate. Like while carpenters were working, every day I would wake up and I would meditate कि मेरी जगह ऐसे होगी, हमें ऐसा होगा, यहाँ पर ऐसे फूल उगेंगे और ऐसा यहाँ पर लोग बैठेंगे. Like I would literally imagine visualize it. ठीक है. And 4 years from now, those flowers are there. So it is not like कि मेरा बनते ही फूल लग गए. Like now I have a process where I have a gardener who would take care of those flowers, and now I have those flowers there after 4 years of what I imagined 4 years ago.
So in like business speak, vision होना चाहिए. है ना? Then you'll get to it like somehow.
Right, and you should like it.
Yeah.
You should feel honest about it.
Second part of my question is like आपने visualize कर लिया.
Right.
You thought कि अरे मैं ये business खोल लूँगा, खुल भी गया. Now what is your go to market? How like were you promoting this new category? है ना? ये आपको दिमाग में लोगों के पहुंचाना भी तो है ना कि यार ये experience available है ना? And this will meet your expectations. Now come to us. So what was your go to market? Like how did you approach targeting people and who did you target?
Right. I think it's just that like if you have the best jalebi in the city, you don't have to find people, people will find you. राइट जिसको जलेबी खानी है वो आ जाएगा आपके पास.
बट ये तो नई जलेबी है ना. इट्स नॉट लाइक जलेबी का तो एक परसेप्शन
है, तो हॉस्पिटैलिटी है ना. ये लाइक सो इफ समबडी, सो इट्स जस्ट दैट as soon as we started out, and I clicked that photograph that was in my head, ठीक है, and I made that like you know shot. ये frame है interior से hostel से I had learned how to package a product, right?
Yeah.
And we put it out. I think we were very lucky. We got recognized very soon. Like within the first month, when we started with the mud house only, we had articles and blogs being written about that this place is like the hidden gem of Himachal. So organically, we would reach out to millions of people within the first month, right? So we were like operationally breaking even because the experience that we had from Zostel, like you know, Swagata would like design the coziest of the corner, right? I would click the nicest of the photograph with a subject in it, not just a photograph of the property, but somebody being in the experience of that property, okay? And then you know, like Kush would sort of put it in the right channel and everything, you know, and we would have the right team being managed by us and hospitality wise. That within the first month we were like on Tripoto, we were on blogs, Curly Trails, and all these things. And see, we had a very limited inventory. ऐसा नहीं था कि we had to sell 20 rooms or 10 rooms or even 5 rooms. We had 3 domes to sell, है ना, and like very limited number of mud rooms only. तो इतनी छोटी सी inventory, we were very easily able to sell because of that exposure. We got super viral in Thailand. Somebody
In
saw
Thailand?
In Thailand.
Okay.
Somebody saw our photograph. Just one photograph they saw of our place, like a blogger, travel blogger in Thailand. They traveled all the way from Thailand to Delhi to Manali just for our place. And then Thailand, they have this Facebook group for travelers, which is very famous. So they posted about us, about our place in that Facebook group. And that got us so many people coming from Thailand just for our place. They would not come to India for Jaipur or Agra, they'll come for Glampeco. Because कि ये जगह है हिमालयाज में जो मतलब most extreme जगह पर है, view ऐसा है, activities ऐसी हैं, right? And when people would come at our place, it would not be like, okay sir, ये आपका room है, ये आपका view हो, chill करो आप. It'll be like, see, this is the dome. Now you come to us with us in the common area. Let's play games.
And you'll take them around basically.
I'll show you around. We'll chill together.
We'll create that experience.
Let's go for a walk. I'll talk about this is what the plant is. This is what the herb is. Let's meditate in the open. So word of mouth was very, very good. Right? Anybody who will come here, they would definitely recommend to somebody else.
Okay.
So what is the takeaway? It's like the takeaway is that like we were enjoying. We didn't see it as a business. We saw it as our house, and we would see the guest as somebody who's coming to our house, and they really feel that warmth. Even though our place was not the perfect, है ना, उसमें like everything was not the best.
They're connecting with you. मतलब वो आ रहे हैं वो फोटो देख के, but they ultimately connecting with you guys.
Exactly. And रात को लाइट नहीं है, -10 टेम्परेचर जा रहा है, ठंड लग रही है, whatever it is, right? But next day morning they will be like, हाँ सब सही था यार, बताओ, because they'll be like very personal behavior with it.
So the other day I was like, just your incidence of clicking that picture reminds me of this thing that I heard Kunal Shah speaking about on his podcast. It's called The Cred Curious. So he's saying he hire performers, people who are into performing arts, because these people know how to get an applause. And I can relate it with like how you know what will click with people at scale, like clicking a photograph with a person in it. है ना? Or like seeing this picture of Chris Burkhardt and like visualizing that this will work with an audience here. I
think that's what it is. Like I realized that that photograph, if placed in a context of Himalayas, why मतलब this question was there कि ऐसा हुआ क्यों नहीं अब तक? Why has nobody ever done it? You know, like why is nobody doing it? That was the challenge was that.
And knowing that if something like this is done, it'll probably click with a lot of people.
Yes, because
at that time when it wasn't done.
Right, exactly, because it is something that I would want to go to. Like, you know, I would want to experience. So it is worth a try. So that's definitely something that and the whole marketing side of it, like we were confident that इतना तो आता है hostel से कि it'll work. The second aspect of the marketing is कि
I don't know if Zostel did it or not, but I think early on when I started observing your you know social media handles, you told me about like how Zostel did the social media, but what I found distinctive about your social media back in 2019, 2020, not 2020, I think वो तो COVID year था, है ना? Starting out like in 2019, you started with a lot of influencer collaborations or promotions on your business handle, and I don't think like hospitality business at that time was approaching influencer marketing in the manner that you approached, and it was a first. So was it deliberate,
Yeah.
or did it just like snowball on its own? Like people came and then collaborated with you guys or posted something and then it went viral. So did you premeditate all these this form of marketing and getting out on social media, or did it happen on its own? And yeah, just tell me about it.
So I think like when I was doing marketing at Zostel, we were like doing collaborations with influencers to an extent, ठीक है, but इतना ज़्यादा नहीं था, and we were reaching out, requesting them करो, and they would like charge a bomb for a proper collaboration, like the ones that who would write a blog. उस time पे 2018, 2019, it was like they would actually write meaningful blogs about you.
Yeah.
Instagram reel
Like written word.
हाँ, रील नहीं होता था उस टाइम ना, ऐसा नहीं होता था कि आपका रील बना दिया एंड वो बहुत वायरल हो गए आप, है ना, एंड photographs would go like viral to an extent, right? So when our property went viral because of the photographs that was going out from our property on Instagram, right? Like those photographs, one photograph would be shared by like 100 different handles कि ये कोई जगह है बहुत सुंदर है स्वर्ग जैसा है, whatever, they would put taglines to it. Then people would see it. So it's the latter. Like we got approached and we didn't have any money for marketing. Like literally whatever money we had, we were like basically till the edge. मतलब जितना पैसा आता था, we would put back in the property.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any budget for marketing. The only marketing that we did was कि I would click some photographs of the property and we would put it on our Instagram and like try to push it. No ads, nothing. Influencers only started approaching us that okay, like I want to come to your property and
because they like what
they saw that they can make good content there. The place was so beautiful, the setup was so unique.
Yeah.
वो ना they Instagrammable ना,
Yeah.
that dome was so unique. They had never seen anything like this. So they only wanted to like be in that place and like they saw that their audience will grow and like the place. So yeah, so it just worked out for us. Like if you build a beautiful place, people will come.
Yeah.
And
so you have to create something aspirational, basically.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be domes, because a lot of people now they call me and they ask me like how do I do this? How do I do domes? Dome was cool in 2019, and there are 100 things wrong about it that I can tell you.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know about it then, right? And I'm always sharing that knowledge only. When people ask me here, how do I start a glamping site with a dome?
Yeah.
I tell them don't do it. It's the worst idea now because it's like it's been done so much and it has so many fallacies, right? So do something better. Do something that is good for 2024.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's my follow-up question.
Yeah.
How do you look at competition? And I'll break it down into first two parts.
Yeah.
One is the community around you. Like you live in a village and people have, like you have a restaurant of your own,
right.
And then there are like eateries outside.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
For some businesses may perceive it as competition. How do you view it?
Right.
One is that, and
Right.
second is there now, since you've started and the model has been successful, geodesic domes have basically sprawled across the nation. You have dome properties in like all sorts of places, in deserts, and not only in Himalayas. You'll even find it down south. On the mountain that you are based, now there are, I think, multiple properties that have come up there. So how do you view that? And how do you view businesses of the community around your property?
All right. So since we started, we realized that this place is so harsh. You know how people are in mountains are generally very kind to each other because life is very hard.
Yeah, you have to collaborate.
You have to collaborate to survive.
Yeah.
Right. So that is what makes sense. If you don't work with each other, there'll be a winter when nobody will come and help you. Right. Right. So we learned that very early. Like in the first winter when we were stuck there and there was no road, we saw how important it is to work with the villagers. We would go help them move their cars. They would help us bring supplies from the city when there was no roads and all that. Okay?
Yeah. In cities, you don't experience all of this, na?
Because
this
you don't know about this the importance of human to human, value of each other, right? So we recently did like we won the award for the most sustainable hotel in the country. So as part of that calculation, we did it that every month we are providing a business worth of 6 lakh rupees to the area that we are in. Just one site. Just one site that can host like not more than 25 people can generate employment of 6 lakh, like revenue worth 6 lakh rupees for the village that we are in.
Yeah.
ठीक है.
One thing I noticed about your property is like people who are staying there, you actually encourage them to eat outside.
Yeah.
And not at your place, like
Right.
for
Right.
like some meals.
Which is one of the reasons. So our activities, our transportation, our experiences outside the property, all of it is outsourced to the villages, right? This is something that which is part of being a sustainable business, right? If your growth is not growing the area that you're in, there is only so far that you can go. And you really can't be really happy about it. This is one thing that I actually motivated me to open Glampeco when I was ideating Glampeco with Kush, Swagata, Shilpi. I was also reading the book Ikigai. ठीक है. So Ikigai में this whole fact of like you can't be happy until your value makes other people's lives better, right? So Glampeco sort of sprouts from that thought that the existence of Glampeco should not be about my sustenance, my wealth. It should be about how the community depends on Glampeco.
Yeah.
ठीक है. And that's one of the main things that we are blessed, that the villagers, they really see Glampeco as a boon for their village and not as a competition to them. They
don't see it as a threat.
They don't see the Glampeco as a threat, the villages themselves.
But it adds to the value of their lives.
Yes, Glampeco has significantly changed their lifestyle. The presence of Glampeco, something that I would have never imagined. But because from the day one, we would ask every guest to go and eat outside, no matter what, because we realized that is part of the experience. I want people to experience local culture, local activities, go to the Gompa, pay their regards, go to the nature, chill there, not drink, and have a time outside in the forest. So it's like growing with the community. Okay? So community was always part of it. When I got married and I came to Setan, I had another marriage in Setan.
Yeah.
Okay? So
the villages organized
it. So they welcomed us very wholeheartedly. Okay? So that is how, we were part of the system. Eventually, when we became so viral and people saw that they are always full, they wouldn't understand we are full because we only have 3 rooms. And we are 3 rooms being managed by 4 people who have collectively experience of 4 decades in hospitality. Like Shilpi has a very large experience of service industry. So it's like we are over talented people managing a very small inventory, and that is why the business idea is working so well. So then competition would come thinking that, oh, this is like a gold mine.
And I've noticed that you've been very forthcoming in telling people how to go about it.
Yeah.
For instance, there was a friend of mine who wanted to start a property like this.
Right.
And then I asked you if I can connect him to you.
Right.
And you were very open to the idea of telling him how to go about it.
Right.
And I think you've given consultation to a lot of properties that have come up in this space.
Right. Even the dome, sorry to interrupt, even dome properties that have come up in Setan only.
Yeah. So what's your, how do you look at competition?
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's like a very positive way to approach business. What is your view exactly, if you can expand on that?
See, one of the villages, they wanted to open a dome because they saw that everybody wants to stay in the dome, they wanted to open dome. I told him exactly what material to put, what didn't work for us, what is the structure that we are using, and why to do it and why not to do it, right? And now he has his own site as beautiful as mine, right? So I see is that if the place grows, my marketing can go only so far, right? And it's only a very small people of my team doing marketing and placing. But if there are more people in that area who are promoting the whole concept of domes, it does help me also on the long run, right? So I was very open to that idea ki theek hai, you do it. But I am against the idea of people doing it purely for the incentive ki this is big money, right? People don't understand the cost it takes to start a business like that and to operate it and to maintain it. And our idea of opening a Glampeco was not the fancy structures only. We researched how we can minimize the impact that it has on the mountain, right? So there's a place called Eco Camp Patagonia. It's the world's most sustainable hotel. So I openly give my regards to that website or to that place. We have mailed them, we talked to them, asking them how exactly can we replicate that model in India. And we try to do it to as good as our ability and our knowledge.
And they've been forthcoming about sharing their practices with you.
They have full videos and instructions about it, how they grow with the community.
They've shared the recipes with you.
Not with us, to the world.
Okay,
They
that's
have made YouTube
open
videos
platform.
about it. They have made articles and blogs about it. Anybody can go and read it.
Okay.
If we asked them how to make the dome, they said we are making the domes ourselves. This is the insulation that we use. We use the same insulation.
Okay.
On the mail only they replied. ठीक है. So our idea was that if we are doing something, might as well do it for the better of the planet and like not like make another hotel in a place where a hotel should not be. So I only thing that I don't like about the competition is that they are only copying the glamping part of it, not the eco part of it, which is what hurts me. This idea is not mine. This is not my patent, and I don't have any issues with people opening their own site. They have their own aspirations. But what I see now is that people are opening it with that thought that, oh, we will become another Glampeco. You know, we will open even more fancy site than Glampeco, and we will get their success, right? But I think they have not got it right that we were not chasing that success. We were really enjoying the process of it, है ना? Which I see now.
How do you deal with it, like philosophically?
Right.
I think Shilpi said somewhere in some video that businesses like building Glampeco is your way of demonstrating how businesses can be built without exhausting resources of the planet.
Right.
है ना? And now, like you guys have been very open about how to go about making this or making a demonstrable, you know, example of this successful property that you've put up,
Right.
and other people have copied it.
Right.
And but it's not based on the same value system.
Right.
So how does it make you feel philosophically because you initiated it?
It puts me to sleep at night. Like I am very happy that my business might not be like earning me like as much money as, let's say, other businesses would have, right? But like I know that there are 50 people whose house are like running in the village because of the business, right? And I am trying my best to have as little as an impact on the place that I am. ठीक है? So it goes very, very small, minute level पे, like to what things that we are selling. We are not selling Maggie. We are not selling packaged drinking water. We are not selling any Coke. Nothing. ठीक है? To what septic tanks we have. To always thinking how we can do it in a better way, right? So personally, I am at peace, right? Because I have a value system where I don't want to spoil the place that I am in. ठीक है? I don't want to destroy it for people in future or like make a cement wall which will change the place forever. तो बाकियों का नहीं पता मुझे, right? Their aspiration is something else. You know, like I feel like the competition is not coming with that thought that मजा आएगा, कुछ नया करते हैं. If that was the thought, they would have done something else or not.
Business है.
हाँ, or not opened right next to me.
Yeah.
You know, they would have found their own Sithan or their own place or own paradise. They're trying to replicate something, but they're not replicating. They can't replicate the emotion that we started out with, which is what we now hear from the guests. They who have stayed in those properties and then they come to us and they go like, okay, those properties might have more facilities, but they don't have the same heart as your staff has. Yeah. Because we try to impart that same warmth with our staff also. So that is how I see competition. But the good thing is that because now they have come, it always keeps us on the toe. Like obviously for a person who is making a booking for the first time, they don't know Glampeco ki legacy and they don't know what these guys are. So we try to keep our like our facilities and like it doesn't let you be sluggish. It doesn't let you be slow.
But since you adhere to a value system, na?
Right.
And now these other people, let's say for example, you only shared with me like now this new property would offer a jacuzzi with the dome tent, but you cannot do this same thing because you have made a conscious choice of adhering to this value of being eco-friendly.
Right.
Does that constraint now hurt business? And I'm sure it does. How do you deal with it?
It does hurt. Like, see, there are a lot of things that we do that hurts business. Not allowing guests of a certain age because we are scared that they might hurt themselves. Not making the site in a certain way that it is like a resort. A resort is a family place. Resort as a word comes from a thing that is safe for family. So we don't call ourselves a resort, right? We call ourselves a glamping place. So that limits the crowd that we have. And the crowd that we leave, this unsafe wala crowd, kids or elderly, is what goes to the other sites because they call themselves resort and they have made like railings and everything. So we try to keep that eco-friendliness in the way the place is designed. There are no railings. We do not try to manicure the entire place like a very safe place. We keep that thing of that it's still a camping site, right? So, and similarly, like with eco-friendliness, the measures that we have, like, not selling Maggie, or having certain constraint about the place, not having music so loud, or like, not promoting a certain kind of drinking culture because of respect of the local deities and all that, does sometimes piss certain customer clientele off, right? And we don't even allow big groups of people because we feel that it's not the same social mindset, that we want people to come and meet each other. So we are not sort of in favor of having a big group of people and partying there. We want people to come more of individually and then meeting each other, right? So yes, it does hurt business, but I think what we have sort of understood is that it's not, you don't need a lot. Like, if you really enjoy staying in the mountains, and if you see how people in mountains are, there are crorpatis. Like, people in Manali are very rich. If you see the land asset that they have, and you know how much money they can make from properties, but they are very happy with whatever they have.
Yeah, with less.
With less. So I think that is what we have come to realize. So it doesn't have to be a super profitable business.
Yeah. Okay, we've almost come to the end of like this conversation. How I'd like to wrap it up is by knowing, if you were to like articulate for someone who's getting into this space, है ना, since you like, you don't mind sharing how to start up here, what are the steps like someone should go about gaining insight into like finding an opportunity in this space? Like you said कि सब आके अब यही मत करो, है ना? Find like a new Glampeco for 2024. How do you go about gaining insight and opportunities, like scoping out opportunities in the space? How do you validate them? And then how do you go about like starting up in this space? Like what would you advise to someone who's starting up, so that they don't make the same mistakes as you did while starting up in this space? So yeah, how do you find insights and opportunities? How do you get your ideas validated? And then how do you start up not making the same mistakes as you did probably? Yeah.
Okay. So whenever somebody says that, oh, your life is perfect, I tell them it's not. Okay, they're like, oh, you are living in the mountains, you own Glampeco, you are making films, mazza mein life. No, it's like, it's not. Okay, so like it's like there are days then you start questioning that why do I even do it? So anybody who wants to get into hospitality, do it because only if you really want to get into hospitality. Don't do hospitality because you want to do business.
So what are some ugly truths of hospitality? Like you'll have to wake up early, you'll sleep
toilets.
late. Huh?
You have to clean toilets and then not be like valued that you have just cleaned a toilet. Like
you'll have to do more.
Yeah, you like
and you'll have to talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, like if it's your own business and you are bootstrapping it, you don't have staff, so your staff is doing something and there is a check-in, you'll have to do it. Okay, you'll have to do things that you don't expect. And like like if you're from a good family, then doing it every day, jhadu pocha marna, setting up a room, like is something people consider as a very degrading kind of stuff, right? So, but because we were like, yaar, abhi choose kar liya and we want to give a good experience, and I don't have a staff, I don't have the money to pay a staff for this, I'll do it. Okay, so there's no if and but about it, and I would do it very happily. Not like, ab main kahan phas gaya hu, right? Not just that, like there'll be days you'll have 10 people shouting on you because they haven't taken a dump, and you are trying to fix water, running up a snowy hill, trying to pour hot water on the entire line, falling upside down, the water falling on you, and then going like, all right, this is life now.
Yeah.
Right?
So you have to make the experience seamless for your customer.
Right.
Like come what may.
Right.
है ना? आप पीछे कुछ भी कर रहे हो. Like you are flapping your feet under the
like
water.
You will be really like pushed to like, because people who pay money, and even if they're paying 2000 rupees, they have bought you. They have bought your happiness, right? They are like, I have come all this way, it's my anniversary, I promised my wife a good time, you make sure that she has a good time, otherwise I will take your case. And that is something that you have to live with, right? And you have to like sleep with, and there is, and they would at night, now you sit here and drink with me, and in the morning you go and make sure that the water is running. So it's like that. It's just that hospitality is not everybody's cup of cake,
Yeah.
right? They people come with. Matlab, there are very very nice people who come in very understanding, and there are people who expect a certain quality that you might not be able to provide because you're starting out,
Yeah.
right? So only do hospitality if it is in your ikigai. ठीक है? Don't do it because you see it is a very good way of living somewhere and earning money and like having a very comfortable life, because it is not for the at least till the business is stabilized, which might take 4 to 5 years,
Yeah.
right, for it to be stabilized, or it might not even happen, which is why people who start standalone businesses in Manali, I would say at least 30% of them fail and leave within the first year. Okay? And more than 50% of them leave within the first 5 years. Right? People who really like enjoy it, do it every day, do it with their heart, are the ones who remain more than 5 years and are actually earning well out of it. Right? That's what I'm saying. So if you want to stay in the mountains, there are 100 ways of doing it. Of making a living remotely, selling some other skill than hospitality.
That too, I'll say, is like a very romantic idea. A lot of people think, ki, oh, I'll go and live in the mountains. It's not like a cakewalk. People think it's like an easy life.
Yeah.
Maybe on Instagram.
Right.
But for someone who's wanting to, like, actually come.
You have to enjoy the hardship.
Yeah, you have to like enjoy it and not consider it hardship. You should consider it as life.
Yeah, cylinder उठा के लाना है तो वो सब है. Be prepared for that and be happy for it.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I would say. If somebody is trying to get into the space, ask from the bottom of your heart that why do you really want to go into hospitality?
Yeah. Don't come into it for the glamour of it.
Because every day you will be asked the same question. Every day you'll be answering the same answer. It's a very repetitive, it gets mundane for somebody who is like very skilled and qualified. Okay? And if you leave your job behind and if you go for something like this, you should be really happy, and it only works if you are really like, if you really enjoy talking to people, if you really enjoy hosting. If you're somebody who's an introvert and like you can't do it.
You don't want to talk to people.
You don't want to talk to people, you can't do it. Okay? So there is no, then the business won't be successful.
Yeah.
No matter you build how many, तुम ताजमहल बना दो, people won't मतलब it won't be a very successful property business. It would just look like a hotel.
Yeah.
Right? It wouldn't have the heart to it. So that's the first thing. Like be very sure about it that you want to be there. You would see it through. You would enjoy the hardships of it, and then you would like go beyond it.
Yeah.
And then okay, now you're sure about it. Now see what is required, where it is required. है ना? मतलब see like what is it that is something that clicks with people. Like these days, like eco-friendly is something people really want, right? And sustainable structures are something that are very cool also, and they require less maintenance also, and they have less impact also.
Yeah.
So there are people in Pangot, like Gili Mitti, and like there are people
Zomsa in Kilong,
who are doing really well by building these structures,
Yeah.
which are with mud, and they look Nagar mein in the north, Rahul.
Yeah.
He's made the structure, which is made purely out of mud and wood that is repurposed.
Yeah.
And they look damn cool, right? And they're warm and they're like comfortable, right? So these are the structures that I think, in this modern world where everything is like glass and fancy and plasticky, they will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
They are the ones that will actually be on the long run.
So
And
maybe like new entrepreneurs can now look at lost,
values or systems,
architecture,
yes,
architectural
Right.
methods or structures that people used to live in, like let's say 100 years ago, that
Right.
you think could be cool now,
Yeah.
could be trending now.
It is like our mud house. We sell a room in mud house for 3,000 rupees.
Yeah.
It is a small room which doesn't have attached washroom, doesn't have a window. And we have people like who can afford a 20,000 ka room who enjoy that small khopcha. Because, like people are coming from very far away. They have stayed in the best hotels.
They've experienced all of that.
All of that.
Yeah.
They want to experience how, like, truth
People-
is, how rawness is.
Yeah.
They want to see the raw aspect of life. And they want to see how we innovate around it. Right? So, if somebody wants to do something in this space today, they should see how they can take people away from the modernization that the world has to offer and to the basic truth. उनसे गुदाई कराओ, उनसे बीज डलवाओ, उनसे घास कटवाओ, वो घास गाय को खिलवाओ, उसका दूध निकलवाओ, and they'll pay you money for that, right? Because that is what, like, people don't know.
People want to reconnect,
हाँ,
basically.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah. So that is where you're saying some opportunity or an
100%.
insight lies.
Yeah, because nobody is offering that. Everybody is offering a room in a hotel.
Yeah.
There are 10,000 rooms in a hotel.
Yeah.
But nobody is offering गाय का दूध निकालने का experience.
Yeah.
You know, whatever
like
it is.
Zostel mentored you
Yeah.
into like, you know, shaping your view of this industry.
Right.
Sort of.
Right.
है ना? You learned like how to scope out an opportunity or whatever.
Right.
Do you think like there would be space for a new entrepreneur to work with an organization like yours
Right.
to get a footing into this space?
It's a very small organization.
Yeah.
Like we have a staff of 14, 15 people,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of people ask us that why don't you open a franchise of Glampeco? Why don't you like branch out? Because we realized that we wanted to do Glampeco for the challenge of it. We never really saw it as a business opportunity that we would have 100 units of.
Yeah.
We enjoy that place itself and the challenge of running that place. And all of us, like all partners, we have our own life and life goals. Like I want to make films, adventure films.
Yeah.
My wife is completely into spirituality and, you know, sort of coaching people in that sense, right?
Yeah.
So we really don't have that much work at Glampeco now. You know, like besides the staff and everything.
Yeah.
But I can take help in editing videos. Yeah. For
Yeah,
Glampeco.
that was my last segment. Like, that's a personal question. Like, I sort of admire how structured your life is. Like the other day, you sent me your like the film that you're working on, and you sent me a beat sheet.
Right.
And I was like impressed. Like, how organized is this? Like, it has some 3 columns, so many rows.
Right.
All the data is organized. I can like visualize the film in the manner you've like written it down.
Right.
Okay. And you just like you're sort of starting out in that realm.
Right.
And then I see all these productivity tools that you're using.
Right.
And I recognize that you're able to like get done a lot in your day in terms of like your musical pursuit or like snowboarding or now getting into filmmaking.
Right.
तो ये क्या मुझे सिर्फ बाहर से अच्छा दिख रहा है?
Right.
या फिर you're able to actually like do all of that stuff and structure your time really well? And if yes, then how do you go about it?
I think it started like in Zostel only. Like I realized that I was marketing, I was doing expansions, I was handling volunteering also. That I enjoyed my job so much that I realized that I have to basically manage time really well. So techniques like Pomodoro and all of these things I started doing in Zostel only.
So these are not just like fads that I hear on internet. Like you're able to make use of them.
Yeah, and it's very useful because I told you, self-diagnosed ADHD. If I focus on something for an hour, I rather get value out of it than, you know, like look at my phone in between and lose my track. And the focus hai. Now that I'm trying to be in this creative realm, which is making art, it is even more important to be structured because everything around you will offer you resistance to not do it.
Yeah.
है ना, मतलब adventure filmmaking is such a self-led passion that nobody's paying me for it. Nobody wants me to do it. है ना, like nobody sees me, wants me to be so successful that you know, it's just my own passion. है ना, so unless I create a decorum for myself that forces me to do it, वो नहीं हो पाएगा.
So how do you create like then a structure for staying accountable?
Recently I hired a guy.
Yeah.
I literally hired I have a coach now who
tell me more about this and then we'll finish it.
Yeah, so like there is one person now who checks in with me every day if I have done what I plan to do.
So you've just paid this person to check in on you. I think I saw someone on the internet like who had hired a person to slap them if they don't do something.
It is literally like that. Like I literally, if I don't message that person, by the end of the day, he asks me ki what happened today.
But he does just that.
He just does that. He just motivates me to do what I want to do.
Who is this person?
He's like a life coach.
So you've given him like some goal sheet or something, or like a work breakdown structure.
Structure na. So I know. So
he has your calendar.
Yeah, I have all the tools that I want. I know what I need to do. I know what I want to do. But procrastination and you know, keep life में और challenges and other commitments take precedence than doing art. So I think when COVID happened 2020 में, I had nothing to do. There was no business. There was no going anywhere. We were in Glampeco. That is when I actually asked myself, what am I doing? Like I came here to make content. I came here to make like adventure films and I'm not doing it. So that's when I started like making structures and goals for myself. And now I have done that, and it's just that like it's just every day is a struggle. It looks beautiful from outside, but waking up and doing things is a struggle because body resists it. I am not a disciplined person. ठीक है? So I hired a coach for training me in the morning.
That's a different coach.
That's a different coach.
Okay.
I have one coach for that, and then I have an accountability partner. Like there's a friend who's a filmmaker
Okay.
who I connect with every weekend,
Okay.
and we check on each other every week.
हाँ.
कि ये हमारे इस हफ्ते का गोल है, हम क्या करते हैं.
Okay.
I tried all of that. Then I have a to-do planner.
This happens right now also.
Every
like it's
week
happening.
it happens. No
It's
matter
something in motion.
everything. It's called a peak productivity partner.
Okay.
So every week we check on each other and we see कि तुम्हारा क्या गोल है इस हफ्ते का, हमारा क्या गोल है इस हफ्ते का. Then there is an app there is a system that I follow. It's called Getting Things Done. It's by David Allen. So what it talks about is building a second brain. So because I am a very hyperactive person, I have too many thoughts. I have too many ideas at the same time. So I can't live with it. So I note it down on one place.
Okay.
So now I know that I have a place where all my ideas are.
हाँ.
If I do it or not do it, that doesn't give me anxiety.
Yeah.
So because if I go to Glampeco, I have 100 ideas.
हाँ.
If I sit on my laptop, I have 100 ideas. If I'm just looking at the sky, I have other 100 ideas.
So you write them down.
I write them down.
This coach that you have, like you are checking in with them every day.
Every day I tell them that this is what I did during the day.
Do they also like help you orient yourself if you stray?
Yeah.
And do they like discuss with you where you should be heading?
I think they just let me not beat myself about it.
हाँ.
Like the idea is that I would plan 100 things in a day and do 10 and go like कि 90 क्यों नहीं किया?
You're able to do 10.
हाँ. And then he would say कि don't even plan 10,
हाँ.
plan 4,
Yeah.
but that 4 should be the ones that make you happy.
That's the number that I have come down to.
हाँ.
Like कि
वही है.
4 ही चीजें कर सकता
That
हूँ
is
दिन
what
में.
life is about. ठीक है.
Yeah.
अब वो 4 में क्या है? उसमें self की भी है, work भी है,
Yeah.
मतलब physical भी है, right? And that is how your day should be like.
Yeah.
So now I have sort of come down to that level कि 4 हो रही है तो I'm खुश, I'm happy about the day. Now I've become a father, so like now
Yeah.
20
You
other things
also
happen.
have to do that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if this this is very random sort of a thing, but yeah, like that's how I'm able to keep my sanity. And I just want to channelize all this energy into something creative. Like if which is why that beat sheet help.
Yeah.
Like so now I'm shifting everything to Notion.
हाँ.
Pehle I have too many papers, document. If I'm meeting somebody, I write down.
So you're digitizing everything.
I'm digitizing everything on Notion. Yeah.
Notion. The shout out to Notion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Right.
So I think that brings us to a close.
Hopefully.
आप बता दो आपको कैसा लगा ये conversation करके और
Yeah, I think like whoever is listening to the podcast, they should just be able to like do whatever they want to do in life and be happy about it.
Yeah, I hope it helps somebody.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Subscribe to this channel if you like this
Yes.
conversation.
Right. And
Would you
Sukrit,
recommend that?
I would say that if you have anything to discuss with Sukrit, he is the best person to hear your thoughts out. I think Sukrit can be a good life coach. Yes.
Thank you for that. I'll probably explore that possibility. So yeah, we'd be having like more conversations like this in the coming weeks. So do subscribe to this channel if you'd like to hear more of me and more of my guests. We'd be talking about everything that meets at the intersection of business and marketing.